We're gonna get this party started. We're gonna get this party started. We're gonna get this party started. It's a Bible reading party. We're gonna get this party started. We're gonna get this party started. We're gonna get this party started. It's a Bible reading party. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. We're gonna get this party started. Technical difficulties. Forgot that the camera was not attached. Not only the camera was not attached, but the camera was gone because I let my daughter borrow it for the other laptop for an activity yesterday. So my bag, I came on and I was ready and I'm like, action. Bless me. Bless me. And then when I realized the camera wasn't there, I had to have her run, go get the camera. So, Boulevard 40 Bible Reading Party, take 2. It is now Saturday morning, y'all. It is Saturday morning. It's 7:06 a.m. It's August 1st, the first day of August 2020. And yes, we're in week 31 of reading the Bible. Reading the Bible every day. If I can do it, you can do it. In celebration of Saturday, in celebration of the camera being plugged in celebration of August 1st, I'd like to crack open a nice cold can of LaCroix. I'll let the viewers decide. Shall it be tangerine or peach pear? While you're making your decision, I am going to let you know which Bible I'm using, which is this one, New Believers Bible, Compact Version, New Living Translation. Link in the description. Nelson's Compact Bible Dictionary. Link in the description. And this is my Kindle. Right here. This is the Kindle that I'm using. What's going on now? You can do it. I believe in you. There we go. On the screen, you should see a gold box that says read and checkpoints. And in that gold box on the left is what I've been reading this week. Ezra on Monday, Nehemiah Tuesday through Friday, and today is Saturday. So I'm reading Esther 1 through 3. The checkpoints of this week are special events that are going on in the reading, such as a letter from a king, a nighttime scouting mission, beard hairs that were being plucked out by somebody because they were so upset, a dethroned queen, and a golden scepter. Well, I've got my screen share on with you. Let me take this moment to share with you the Bible in 1 year, your one-stop shop of finding resources to help you stay motivated and encouraged to read the Bible in 1 year. Created by yours truly, me. If you find something on this website that is helpful, let me know in the comments section. And if there's something that you think needs to be on this website, let me know, and I will, as quickly as possible, add it to the website to give as much value to you and to those interested in the Bible. I also want to do another quick screen share before I get started. We're talking about the book of Esther, and actually a couple weeks ago I watched a movie. I'm going to do a quick screen share with you. I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get a copyright strike. But the link to this movie that you see on your screen, let me move that. The link to this movie is called One Night with the King. One Night with the King. Esther, the Bible movie. It is excellent. It is very, very good. It's a 2-hour movie. It's right here on YouTube. The link is already in the description. So when you guys get done listening to the Bible reading, you can come back to this and find a link to this movie, or you can write it down because this is the title of it, and this is where I found it. Let's Talk About It TV. That's the creator that uploaded this. One Night with the King, talking about Esther. That is actually not Esther. That is Queen Vashti. We're going to read about her in just a second. On that note, yeah, let me bring it back now so we can get started. Oops. Hold on. There we go. Now we're back. Did I get rid of my live stream again? I did not. Where did it go? I did. I don't know how, but I switched tabs and now I can't see my live stream. While I'm waiting for the page to load, I'm going to turn to Esther. We just finished up Nehemiah yesterday, and the people were very happy to have the wall rebuilt. They were very happy to have the temple rebuilt. They were very happy to finally get the law read to them so they could know what was going on, because nobody wants to keep making mistakes. If you make a mistake, at least you want to be told, well, what did I do wrong so I can stop doing it, right? It's just what Ezra did. Ezra, under the direction of Nehemiah, read the law to the people so they would know, so they could have a fresh start. Nicole's in the house. It says, good morning, 40 fam. Good morning, good morning. Bless the like button. Thank you so much, Miss Moderator. I do appreciate that. I hope you guys do get a chance to check out that movie. It is excellent. It is a very good movie. So now that I've got you all hyped up for the movie, let's read the source. Let's read where this came from. This right here is the book of Esther. And according to this intro here, the writer is actually unknown. But if you guys were paying attention last week, or no, actually earlier this week, I mentioned the name of Mordecai. I mentioned the name of Mordecai, which is actually her uncle, and it's very possible that he was the author of this book. The date written was 483. I couldn't see it in the camera. 483 to 471 BC, and the genre is narrative. It says here, the book of Esther shows God's providence at work in a profound way. What does providence mean? It means it doesn't seem like things are going to work out because this is going over here, and this is going over here, and this is going this way, and this is going this way, but somehow it all worked out just right. And if it had gone any other way, it wouldn't have worked out that way. That's what providence means. So the book of Esther shows God's providence at work in a profound way. As one Persian noble close to the king plotted to kill the Jews, Esther, the Jewish queen, interceded on behalf of her people at great personal risk. You guys ready for Esther chapter 1? This is the king's banquet. This is how it starts off. Chapter 1. But first, I'm going to get a cold sip of this mineral water. Since nobody from the live chat decided on which one I should drink, I'm going to crack open Sparkling Peach Pear. This is not sponsored, but of course, LaCroix, if you would like me to promote your deliciously refreshing waters, you know where to find me. That's the one I'm going to drink today. It is good. It's an acquired taste. Mineral water is an acquired taste. Let's get started with Esther. And let's move this slightly to the side. That'll work. I was eating a snack. The King's Banquet, Chapter 1. These events happened in the days of King Xerxes, who reigned over 127 provinces stretching from India to Ethiopia. At that time, Xerxes ruled his empire from his royal throne at the fortress of Susa. In the 3rd year of his reign, he gave a banquet for all his nobles and officials. He invited all the military officers of Persia and Media, as well as the princes and nobles of the provinces. The celebration lasted 180 days, a tremendous display of the opulent wealth of its empire and the pomp and splendor of his majesty. I've heard some people celebrating their birthday day, birthday week, birthday month, but that's like, that's 6 months. That's a 6-month long celebration. That's too much. Bring it a little bit closer. Would you hold a party that long? There we go. When it was all over, the king gave a banquet for all the people, from the greatest to the least, who were in the fortress of Susa. It lasted for 7 days and was held in the courtyard of the palace garden. The courtyard was beautifully decorated with white cotton curtains and blue hangings, which were fastened with white linen cords and purple ribbons to silver rings embedded in marble pillars. If you want an accurate visual of that, check out that movie that I gave you the link to. It's really, really visually appealing. It says gold and silver couches stood on mosaic pavement of porphyry. I don't know what that is. Porphyry, marble, mother of pearl, and other costly stones. Drinks were served. You're here. You're here. Refreshing. Drinks were served in gold goblets of many designs, and there was an abundance of royal wine, reflecting the king's generosity. By edict of the king, no limits were placed on the drinking, for the king had instructed all his palace officials to serve each man as much as he wanted. At the same time, Queen Vashti gave a banquet for the women in the royal palace of King Xerxes. So notice what's going on here. The king has had a 6-month celebration for everybody. And now there's basically an extension of the party going on for the common people. So everybody around is supposed to be celebrating. The king is celebrating in one place. Queen Vashti is giving a banquet for the women in the royal palace of the king in another place. Verse 10. And here comes a checkpoint. Queen Vashti is deposed. On the 7th day of the feast, when King Xerxes went in high spirits because of the wine, he told the 7 eunuchs who attended him, Mehuman, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, Abagtha, Zathar, and Carcas, to bring Queen Vashti to him with the royal crown on her head. He wanted the nobles and all the other men to gaze on her beauty, for she was a very beautiful woman. But when they conveyed the king's orders to Queen Vashti, she refused to come. Can you imagine what a big deal that would have been? This made the king furious, and he burned with anger. He immediately consulted with his wise advisors, who knew all the Persian laws and customs, for he always asked their advice. The names of these men were Karshena, Shethar, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marsena, and Memucan, 7 nobles of Persia and Media. They met with the king regularly and held highest positions in the empire. What must be done to Queen Vashti? The king demanded. What penalty does the law provide for a queen who refuses to obey the king's orders properly sent through his eunuchs? Memucan answered the king and his nobles. Queen Vashti has wronged not only the king, but also every noble and citizen throughout your empire. Women everywhere will begin to despise their husbands when they learn that Queen Vashti has refused to appear before the king. Before this day is out, the wives of all the king's nobles throughout Persia and Media will hear what the queen did and will start treating their husbands the same way. There will be no end to their contempt and anger. So, if it please the king, we suggest that you issue a written decree, a law of the Persians and Medes that cannot be revoked. It should order the queen Vashti be forever banished. Forever banished from the presence of King Xerxes, and that the king should choose another queen more worthy than she. When this decree is published throughout the king's vast empire, husbands everywhere, whatever their rank, will receive proper respect from their wives. The king and his nobles thought this made good sense, so he followed Memucan's counsel. He sent letters to all parts of the empire, to each province in its own script and language, proclaiming that every man should be the ruler of his own home and should say whatever he pleases. That's chapter 1. And if you see how it plays out in the movie, you'll really get the full effect of, wow. It's not that she was wrong. The Queen Vashti wasn't necessarily wrong, but still, as a person in a position of power, like he is the man, he was kind of put to the test in front of everybody. Because remember, he's right there in the middle of a banquet. Everybody's watching him. He basically called for his wife, and his wife gave him the hand to everybody at the banquet. So what was he supposed to do? But that opens up a doorway for somebody else, which I'm going to read about in chapter 2. This is talking about Esther becoming queen. After Xerxes' anger had subsided, he began thinking about Vashti and what she had done and the decree he had made. So his personal attendants suggested, let us search the empire to find beautiful young virgins for the king. Let the king appoint agents to each province to bring these beautiful young women into the royal harem at the fortress of Susa. Haggai, the king's eunuch in charge of the harem, will see that they are all given beauty treatments. After that, the young woman who most pleases the king will be made queen instead of Vashti. This advice was very appealing to the king, so he put the plan into effect. At that time, there was a Jewish man in the fortress of Susa whose name was Mordecai, son of Jair. He was from the tribe of Benjamin and was a descendant of Kish and Shimei. His family had been among those who, with King Jehoiakim of Judah, had been exiled from Jerusalem to Babylon by King Nebuchadnezzar. This man had a very beautiful and lovely young cousin, Hadassah, who was also called Esther. When her father and mother died, Mordecai adopted her into the family and raised her as his own daughter. As a result of the king's decree, the decree that said, hey, let's send out some agents to go snatch up some young girls and bring them into the harem, basically a group of concubines, and from them you will pick which one pleases you the most. At that time, there was a Jewish man. Okay, I did that right. As a result of the king's decree, Esther, along with many other young women, was brought to the king's harem at the fortress of Susa and placed in Haggai's care. And if you guys remember from before me bringing up what a eunuch is, eunuch are the men folk that protect the women folk, but they have been snip, slightly modified so that they will not be a threat to the women or a threat to the husbands. So these men folk, they've got the strength and the buff to be able to supervise and protect the women, but nothing sexual can happen because they've been eunuchized, they've been castrated. Let's see, and that's Haggai. Haggai is the chief eunuch, which is as you can see here. I accidentally jumped forward in the movie. I won't play the movie, but real quick, as you can see, this is Esther, and this actor, I can't remember his actual name, but he's a very famous actor. He was in Friday. He's known as Zeus and some circles, but he is actually the chief eunuch in charge of all the concubines, all the young women who've been brought into the fold for the king to choose from. Esther, oh, let's see. As a result of the king's decree, Esther, along with many other young women, was brought to the king's harem at the fortress of Susa and placed in Haggai's care, as Guy just showed you. Haggai was very impressed with Esther and treated her kindly. He quickly ordered a special menu for her and provided her with beauty treatments. He also assigned her 7 maids specially chosen from the king's palace, and he moved her and her maids into the best place in the harem. Esther had not told anyone of her nationality and family background because Mordecai had directed her not to do so. Every day, Mordecai would take a walk near the courtyard of the harem to find out about Esther and what was happening to her. Before each young woman was taken to the king's bed, she was given the prescribed 12 months of beauty treatments. A whole year. 6 months with oil of myrrh, followed by 6 months with special perfumes and ointments. When it was time for her to go to the king's palace, she was given her choice of whatever clothing or jewelry she wanted to take from the harem. That evening, she was taken to the king's private rooms, and the next morning she was brought to the second harem, where the king's wives lived. There she would be under the care of Shaashgaz, the king's eunuch in charge of the concubines. She would never go to the king again unless he had specially enjoyed her and requested her by name. Esther was the daughter of Abihail, who was Mordecai's uncle. Mordecai had adopted his younger cousin Esther. When it was Esther's turn to go to the king, she accepted the advice of Haggai, the eunuch in charge of the harem. She asked for nothing except what he suggested, and she was admired by everyone who saw her. Esther was taken to King Xerxes at the royal palace in early winter of the 7th year of his reign, and the king loved Esther more than any of the other young women. He was so delighted with her that he set the royal crown on her head and declared her queen instead of Vashti. To celebrate the occasion, he gave a great banquet in Esther's honor for all his nobles and officials, declaring a public holiday for the provinces and giving generous gifts to everyone. Even after all the young women had been transferred to the second harem, and Mordecai had become a palace official, Esther continued to keep her family background and nationality a secret. She was still following Mordecai's directions just as she did when she lived in his home. Let's see. In verse 21, it's talking about Mordecai's loyalty to the king. One day, as Mordecai was on duty at the king's gate, 2 of the king's eunuchs, Bigthana and Teresh, who were guards at the door of the king's private quarters, became angry at King Xerxes and plotted to assassinate him. But Mordecai heard about the plot and gave the information to Queen Esther. That was his little cousin. She then told the king about it and gave Mordecai credit for the report. When an investigation was made and Mordecai's story was found to be true, the 2 men were impaled on a sharpened pole. This was all recorded in the book of the history of King Xerxes' reign. And that's chapter 2. That's just chapter 2. Make sure how far I'm supposed to be reading today. Yeah, chapter 3. This is chapter 3, the final chapter for today. Haman's plot against the Jews. Sometime later, King Xerxes promoted Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, over all the other nobles, making him the most powerful official in the empire. All the king's officials would bow down before Haman to show him respect whenever he passed by. For so the king had commanded. But Mordecai refused to bow down or show him respect. Then the palace officials at the king's gate asked Mordecai, "Why are you disobeying the king's command?" They spoke to him day after day, but still he refused to comply with the order. So they spoke to Haman about this to see if he would tolerate Mordecai's conduct, since Mordecai had told them he was a Jew. When Haman saw that Mordecai would not bow down or show him respect, he was filled with rage. He had learned of Mordecai's nationality, so he decided it was not enough to lay hands on Mordecai alone. Instead, he looked for a way to destroy all the Jews throughout the entire empire of Xerxes. So in the month of April, during the 12th year of King Xerxes' reign, lots were cast in Haman's presence. The lots were called Purim, to determine the best day and month to take action, and the day selected was March 7th, nearly a year later. Then Haman approached King Xerxes and said, "There is a certain race of people scattered throughout the province of your empire who keep themselves separate from everyone else. Their laws are different from those of any other people, and they refuse to obey the laws of the king. So it is not the king's interest to let them live. If it please the king, issue a decree that they be destroyed, and I will give 10,000 large sacks of silver to the government administrator to be deposited in the royal treasury." The king agreed, confirming his decision by removing his signet ring from his finger and giving it to Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews. The king said, "The money and the people are both yours to do with as you see." So on April 17th, the king's secretaries were summoned, and a decree was written exactly as Haman dictated. It was sent to the king's highest officers, the governors of the respective provinces, and the nobles of each province in their own scripts and languages. The decree was written in the name of King Xerxes and sealed with the king's signet ring. Dispatches were sent by swift messengers into all the provinces of the empire, giving the order that all Jews, young and old, including women and children, must be killed, slaughtered, and annihilated on a single day. This was scheduled to happen on March 7th of the next year. The property of the Jews would be given to those who killed them. A copy of this decree was to be issued as law in every province and proclaimed to all peoples, so that they would be ready to do their duty on the appointed day. At the king's command, the decree went out by swift messengers, and it was also proclaimed in the fortress of Susa. Then the king of Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Susa fell into confusion. I know this is a cliffhanger, but that's it for the reading for today. That is the book of Esther, chapter 1, 2, and 3. Mordecai's little cousin, Hadassah, also known as Esther. And in the movie, you'll see why they kind of changed the name, because Hadassah was a very Jewish name, and they were trying to hide her identity. So you can see what happened by watching that 2-hour movie. And then when you tune in tomorrow, or if you're watching the replay and you're able to watch this back to back, you can take a pause and watch that movie and then come back and you can kind of hear the story from the source. Because, there's a little bit of artistic liberty that they put in the movies to make it more dramatized and be able to see it. But yeah, that's all I've got for today. On that note, thank you for watching the Bible reading party. Thank you for listening in. I hope that it encouraged you to read your Bible in your own time so you can come to your own understanding. And that if you do and when you do read the Bible, you will be able to not only build up your understanding, but build a relationship with God. This is God's word. So if you want to know about somebody, why not go to the source and find out about them, build up your faith, find some purpose for your life so you can live your best life. That's it. And I will see you guys on tomorrow. Happy August 1st.